in technology in particular.
Farmers count losses as flood destroys houses and farmlands in the FCT.
Almost about 15 kilometers, if I not made a mistake, they are planted. And the water has already washed everything. Nothing remains there. Both banana and everything, all.
Nigeria records 471 fresh COVID-19 infections.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss COVID-19 pandemic and matters arising.
In the last 1 week alone, Nigeria has recorded more than 3,700 cases of COVID-19, which surpasses the cases the country recorded in the months of May and June put together this year. And that's according to the daily statistics provided by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC.
And indeed, Kingsley, the daily statistics are rising, and they indicate a surge in community spread of COVID-19 in Nigeria, as well as telltale signs that we may well be on the verge of a third wave of the pandemic in the country.
Yes, indeed. And of course, the public health experts have already attributed the surge in cases in the country and around the world to the Delta variant of COVID-19, which is said to be 60% more transmissible and 97% more contagious than the original COVID-19 virus.
The Delta variant was first discovered between April and May this year in India, and currently it is said to be responsible for 90% of new cases around the world.
Of course, indeed, Nadabo, the Delta variant dealt a big blow to India with an alarming death toll recorded in that country. And as a result, there is apprehension around the world. Already, the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, PSC, says more than 30 cases confirmed to be the Delta variant of COVID-19 have been detected across 5 states in Nigeria.
And the PSC has also attributed the latest surge in cases in the country to the virulent characteristics, that is, of the Delta variant of COVID-19, which is said to be more contagious, like you indicated earlier, Kieran. But despite the threat of the third wave, many Nigerians still appear to be nonchalant to COVID-19, as we continue to see total disregard for non-pharmaceutical measures in the public places.
Nonchalant indeed, Narabo, because from all indications, in most places, in churches, in some mosques and the marketplaces, Nigerians have really abandoned the non-pharmaceutical approach to the fight of this COVID-19.
It's better you even mention places where they are being adhered to than the places where they are not. There are a few places where, these measures have been taken seriously.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, in fact, many Nigerians have, as just pointed out, jettisoned the use of face masks, while others prefer to keep it in their bags or pockets or wear it strongly under the chin. Many have returned to the practice of shaking hands and disregarding social distancing. There's really a lot of work to be done by the authorities in terms of risk communication to change the perception of Nigerians and bring about attitudinal change in the interest of public health.
And of course, Kieran, as the saying goes, health is wealth. And that is why on Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on COVID-19 and matters arising in the country. My name is Yusuf Nadab Usman, and I welcome you to the program, reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA.
And I am Kieran Umar. I'll join my colleague Nadabo in welcoming you to the Monday's edition of the program. It's a wet morning here in Abuja, and I believe in some parts of the country as well, as we are in the thick of the rainy season. We hope you will keep warm with Good Morning Nigeria and our companion segment. For now, here is our colleague Noli Abel Ame with the morning news. Good morning, Lali.
Good morning, Kirian and Nadabo. Good morning, Nigeria. Here is the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has called on his Turkish counterpart, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, to convey the sympathies of the government and people of Nigeria over the wildfires that ravaged vast territories in the country. In the telephone call, the president expressed the solidarity of the government and people of Nigeria with the government and people of Turkey at this critical time and offered the readiness of Nigeria to extend its modest support in any manner that may be required by Turkey. President Buhari extolled the heroic response by Turkish emergency teams and the exemplary leadership of President Erdogan in handling the disaster and assured his Turkish counterpart of Nigeria's commitment to sustain progress in her bilateral relations with Turkey. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has described the micro, small and medium enterprises as the hope and future of the nation and advises states to join the federal government by giving maximum support to the businesses operating in their states in order to achieve desired growth.
Development Bank has agreed to support the government with $500 million for small businesses in technology in particular. And so we think that this is something that will be very helpful indeed. In addition to a $75 billion fund, which the federal government has set up also for young people and small businesses. We must keep working on small businesses because that certainly is the future of our country.
Farmlands, properties and critical national infrastructure were destroyed by flood in villages along the Kwali-Abaji-Lokoja highway after a heavy downpour. Ilyas Onotu Yakubu reports that no life was lost to the incident.
People have already planted, finished. Nobody in this area, almost about 15 kilometers, if I'm not made a mistake, they are planted. And the water has already washed everything. Nothing remains there. Both banana and everything, all is.
The disaster has affected us. We would be glad if government can help us.
Construction work on the second Niger Bridge is fast advancing, with more than 70% reported to have been completed.
We have covered the deck of the bridge, about 2 kilometers out of the 3.2 kilometers of the deck of the bridge. The 3 kilometers at the other side in Delta State has substantially been completed. We are already on the binder course on that section. And you can see here now, this is the macadam layer of the pavement. Some section where we have passed in front, we have already laid the binder course. So this section too is at higher percentage of completion.
Work is progressing. The bridge is on a completion of roughly 80%. We are also on a very advanced level with the earthworks and with the drainage works, and are now within the pavement works.
And talking security now, the Nigerian Air Force says one of its Alpha jets on reconnaissance mission under Operation Hadarindaji has foiled an attempt by suspected bandits to kidnap 16 persons. In a statement by NAF Director, Public Relations and Information, Air Commodore Edward Gapquet, the incident occurred approximately 19.5 nautical miles southwest of Gusau town, precisely between Magami and Tofa in Zamfara state. The recon crew in the NAF Alpha jet cited suspected bandits on 5 motorcycles who had blocked Magami-Gusau road in an ongoing attempt to kidnap commuters, as indicated by 4 empty vehicles, including red and grey Golf Volkswagen sedans. On sighting the Alpha Jet, the bandits abandoned their motorcycles and fled into the bush, while the commuters ran back to their vehicles, with the aircraft providing close cover to ensure safety of both passengers and other citizens. And on health, the number of COVID-19 infections in the country has continued to rise, with the Nigeria Center for Disease Control confirming 471 new infections in 13 states within the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 178,086. In the latest daily statistics, Lagos recorded 219 cases, followed by Akwa Ibom with 102 cases. Ondo recorded 37, Oyo 33, Kwara 19, Rivers 16, Ekiti 15, Delta 14, Ogun 7, FCT 5, Niger 2, while Edo and Katsina recorded just a single case each. So far, 165,763 recovered patients have been discharged, while the death toll is 2,187. That's the morning news for now. The program continues with Nadabo and Kirian after this break. I am Nolin Ebel Ame. Good morning.
I have brought my car for full body work.
Madam, look, we will shine this car.
Wait. This cough doesn't sound good at all. What are you doing about it?
Oga doesn't want to go to the hospital so that they won't say he has COVID-19.
No, now. Cough is a sign of different infections, including tuberculosis. You would only know which cough it is if you go for testing.
Kai, I've been coughing for more than 2 weeks now.
There's no need to fear. I have done this test myself. To know the right treatment for the particular cough you have, you must first get tested.
Oga Chekamo, make you dey sure. Because
who no go?
No go, no.
Check that cough for tuberculosis.
Chekamo, make you dey sure. If your cough is more than 2 weeks, it could be tuberculosis. TB tests and TB treatment are free. Just call the National TB Hotline on 3340 for information on where to get the test. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Health with support from the American people.
Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam. The regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes.
To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains remover. Harpic sticker formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergent and bleach.
Wow!
Ovaltine, 3-in-1. It has great taste.
Good day ahead.
Yummy, full of nourishment and vitality. Antibodies and shop like 3-in-1. Ovaltine, 3-in-1. Ovaltine, 3-in-1.
New Ovaltine 3-in-1. Smart choice for smart kids.
Mommy is ready to receive me a bundle of joy. Mommy is making my home cleaner and safer. We are Dettol Sure.
Illnesses can happen at home too. That's why Dettol and me together will make my baby's home safe and to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol. Dettol Sure.
We are Dettol Sure.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. Coming up next on the program is the newspaper review.
And Bayo Atoyebi, our newspaper reviewer, is already here with us in the studio. Bayo, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, Kirian. Good
You're
morning.
Welcome to Monday's
Thank
edition.
you. Good morning, Yusuf.
Good
Good morning, Nigeria.
Bayo, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So what do we have, Kirian? You have the Punch there and the Daily Trust here. Let me kick it off with this.
All right.
Yeah. Now let's look at the Daily Trust. The front page of Daily Trust for today, Monday, August 9, 2021. There are three stories there right under the masthead, and they are Senate lists conditions for creation of states, details of that on page 6. And on page 21, First Bank, EcoBank, 5 others make 60 billion naira from e-banking charges. First Bank, EcoBank, 5 others make 60 billion naira from e-banking charges, details on page 21. On page 40, PDP crisis, governors decide Secondus fate today. Governors decide Secondus fate today as the PDP crisis continues. And the main story on the front page here of the Daily Trust is talking about COVID-19, and it says federal government postpones COVID-19 vaccination as doubts dog-donated doses. Federal government postpones COVID-19 vaccination as doubts dog-donated doses. And the writers are experts worried over reluctance to provide key documents. The second writer is there is no problem with the vaccine, says NAFDAC. At the bottom of the page, so there are a few stories, 4 of them to be specific, one of which is importers, exporters lose billions over customs server failure. You get the details on page 4. And page 14, cholera kills 60 in Katsina State, or in Katsina that is. Cholera kills 60 in Katsina. And on page 12, 4 notorious bandits and others killed in Kaduna. And finally, on page 7, Obiano Umahi asks residents to ignore IPOB sit-at-home order. Kirian?
All right, now let's turn to the Punch newspaper. Above the nameplate of the Punch newspaper, the federal government postpones vaccination resumption indefinitely, lists 3,707 cases in 1 week. Stakeholders meet on vaccine distribution to states today. That's on page 16. Now, on the right-hand side of the nameplate, we have a petrol landing cost hits 249 naira per litre. Deregulation remains uncertain. It says on page 27. Group roots for Oshibajo's presidency leads VP's qualities. The full story is captured on page 16. Now, the lead story on the Punch newspaper, no work, no pay directive. Federal government battles NAD, that's National Association of Resident Doctors, opens attendance registers. Resident doctors adamant. That's on page 8. Well, there are 2 writers to that. Resume first or forget further negotiations. Ministry orders insists on sanctions for doctors. You can't bully doctors you haven't paid with no work, no pay threat. NAD lambasts federal government. Now, the photo story on the Punch newspaper is that of members of the EYN Church conducting Sunday service at the site of the demolished church in Maiduguri. That's just yesterday. And below that, we have other trending stories. 2,295 Northeast teachers killed in 11 years. 271 students held. That's according to UNICEF. It's on page 14. Sit at home. Confrontation looms as IPOB blows halt. Government vows clamp down. It's also on page 14. Oyo, Jigawa, Katsina declare Monday, Tuesday holiday for Islamic New Year. The story is on page 42. The fruit of the punch, you have NDLEA seizes Europe-bound drugs from courier firms, uncovers 8,268 kg of cocaine and others. The story is on page 5. Lalong condemns, that's the governor of Plateau State, condemns attacks after donating 50 patrol vans and 200 bikes to the police. It's on page 16. Falana demands arraignment dates of detained 800 Boko Haram suspects. The story is also captured in details on page 16. Now let's bring in Barry here.
Thank you, Kirian. Let's start with the situation with the medical doctors and the Ministry of Labour. The Minister of Labour and Employment says that government has communicated its position of no work, no pay to striking National Association of Resident Doctors. Minister Chris Ngige says, under ILO law, strike is guaranteed, but there are situations employer can replace striking workers and replace them under the Trade Dispute Act, Section 43. He stressed that since reconciliation has failed, there is the option of going to Industrial Arbitration Panel and the National Industrial Court of Nigeria. Dr. Chris Ngige emphasized that essential services like medical services are not supposed to go on strike without giving 15 days of notice. Following no work, no pay rule, chief medical directors are directed to open attendance register, and the period of no work, no pay will be met with not only that, but also the period will not count as part of the pension of those that may be affected. The president of the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, Uyi Lawa Okua Ihesui, says the strike is on and indefinite, as the memorandum of action signed 116 days ago, nothing has been done about it. He says that the threat to sack members of the NARD will fail because if you hire any doctors, they automatically become members of the NARD. And where would Nigeria find doctors to replace 16,000 members of the National Association of Resident Doctors? He said there seems to be no meeting point between the Ministry of Health and the resident doctors. However, it may be recalled that the Minister of Health had indicated that of all the issues that is in contention, majority of those that have not been attended to were in the ambit of the states. However, the National Association of Resident Doctors says 114 officers are federal, 1,700 that have not been migrated to the IPs are also federal, while the minimum wage issue is also federal. Across hospitals, the two elephants that are fighting are causing the grass a lot of apprehensions. Patients on admission are being withdrawn in some hospitals. Some fresh ones are said to be turned back. Some nurses are providing skeletal services. Consultants who are filling the void by attending to emergencies says they now have to do the work of 4 different cadres and they are overstretched. There is a resort to private hospital, but many patients are indigent and cannot afford. The ministry says that doctors should go back to work, as ministry will only meet members of the Association of Resident Doctors after they have called off their strike for any talks. Meanwhile, the National Association of Resident Doctors says it has received an invitation to meet with members of the House of Representatives Committee on Health today. We hope that there will be a way forward in that direction. Meanwhile, Governor Babagana Zulum has reunited a Chibok school girl with her mother in Maiduguri. She is one of the over 200 that were criminally abducted on 14th of April 2014. The girl, who was said to have been married off during the captivity, surrendered with the man he was married to and 2 children raised in captivity to the military at Bama on July 28. Under the direction of Governor Zulum, they quietly investigated to find out the parents through the Association of Chibok Girls. The mother of the girl was reunited with the girl at the government house in Maiduguri, and Governor Babagana Zulum expressed optimism that with this indication, there is still hope for parents and members of the family that their children will be found alive and will be safely returned to them. He indicated, however, that government is collaborating with parents to undertake a rehabilitation and a reintegration of those persons, particularly those that now will have to return to their domains. Meanwhile, Governor Babagana Zulum also expressed excitement over the growing number of insurgents now surrendering to the military in Borno. The Commissioner for Information, Alhaji Babakura Abba Jato, said at the end of the security meeting on Saturday that government was happy with sustained military onslaught at the shores of Lake Chad and Sambisa Forest, which has led to over 100 insurgents surrendering to the military. The area of state creation, the Senate says that there are no plans to create more states in the ongoing constitutional review. The chairman of the Senate Committee of Media and Public Affairs, Senator Ajibola Bashiru, has cleared the situation. He says a publication that Senate Committee did not propose creation of 20 new states has been published. He acknowledged that the Senate received several propositions to create new states, but decided that it is not in the position to recommend or propose the creation of any new states, because he specified that unless the proposal comply with Section 8 of the 1999 Constitution, and it is elaborate and tedious process that will involve members of the Senate, House of Reps, and House of Assembly, as well as local government area of the place demanding having a referendum of 2/3 of majority of the area agreeing and passing through the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, State Assembly. The proposal is as cumbersome as making state creation impossible. But for now,
one even wonders, why, attention should be paid to state creation, at this point in time of our national life. I think that we can make do what we have. What we're even interested in more is in developing the states that we have in the first instance. States are crying out that they don't have the, funds, to run the state. And they were talking about creating more, trying to balkanize the nation into different forms. And that will not help us in terms of development. That's my view, and I'm sure many other Nigerians will have this view.
Yeah, that is the joy of democracy. In democracy, people are free to aspire, but also procedures must be observed. There is no gainsaying the fact that up till tomorrow, people will continue to agitate for states, in spite of the fact that it is being argued that many of the currencies are not economically viable.
Exactly.
But you'll be shocked to find out that the states that are being proposed are giving you proposals that will indicate that the states, when created, will be viable.
Oh, well, that's it, Bayo, but though we're running short of time, but I think it's worthwhile to really comment a little bit on the, the strike by the resident doctors, which is now becoming more worrisome of a thing in the country than anything like states or whatever it is.
Exactly.
For state creation, that's just a case, but the resident doctors issue is really becoming so much of a problem. And that's adding up to the strikes we've been witnessing over the years and the months and the ongoing one. When you look at the Daily Trust, really, can we please have that on the screen? The Daily Trust, the picture there, the photo story there is about residents of occupied community in Ikuluk Chiefdom, Zangon Kataf local government, Kaduna State, troop out for medical services provided by participants of the 68th regular course of the Nigerian Defense Academy. Just look at that and look at how people have come out for free medical services, which means they don't even have money to at least cater for themselves, health-wise. And now, even for those with money, the resident doctors are on strike. And it seems there is no sign of abating, given the stance of the two, parties involved.
It's worrying. We are in the peak of a pandemic that has every signs of escalating. Unfortunately, in parts of the country, cholera is currently threatening. And we have a situation where doctors are going on strike.
It's even escalating, bio. So that's going to be our topic today. We'll look at that.
And really, I wonder why the doctors chose this period, to start up a strike without warning. The Minister of Minister of Labor, is actually a medical personnel, he's a medical doctor, and he understands the profession and how best, to tackle whatever issue that is, on board at the moment. And it's so striking, the fact that till now they have not been able to reach any reasonable agreement. The doctors are on strike. They're saying the government is taking a position now to say, look, no work, no pay. And of course, the doctors are also start saying, look, you can bully us with such statements. And they are still continuing with this strike. It is not healthy for a nation like ours at the level of our development, even the health sector issue that we're talking about. So it's really an unhealthy development.
It's sad because the doctors are saying that their strike was suspended. It was called 117 days ago. So it was suspended. And when you suspend a strike, that is the latest strategy. It was the same strategy adopted by ASU. When you suspend strike, you don't have to give warning before you open any time. You are.
Well, the good news here is that they are meeting the House Committee.
House Committee has invited the doctors, and they have accepted to attend.
They started talking, and we hope something good is going to come out of it. Are you watching Good Morning Nigeria? Thank you so much, Bayo.
Thank you, Yusuf.
I seem to forget that. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. We're reaching you from the Nigerian Television Authority, and of course, we'll take a break now. We'll be back in a moment to continue the program.
Mommy is ready to receive me a bundle of joy. Mommy is making my home cleaner and safer. We are Dettol sure.
Illnesses can happen at home too. That's why Dettol and me together will make my baby's home safe and to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol. Dettol Sure.
We are Dettol sure.
Hello, madam. Would you like to join us on this mission?
Yes, but how?
Just one question for you. How do you keep your toilet clean?
I use regular detergent and bleach for washing and removing yellow stains. I have been using it for years.
Oh, madam. The regular detergents and bleach are used for washing clothes.
To disinfect your toilet properly, you need Harpic 10X. It is specially made for germs and stains remover. Harpic sticker formula settles on stains and gives 10 times better cleaning compared to regular detergent and bleach.
Wow!
The broadcast media ecosystem is dynamic and requires continuous training for practitioners to perform optimally. NTA TV College Jos invites relevant officers to the following specially packaged training programs. Basic Directing Techniques, date 2nd August to 27th August 2021, 4 weeks. New Technologies, Optical Fiber, IP Technologies, Automation Storage Management and Wireless Technology, date 9th August to 13th August 2021, 1 week. Transmitter Operation and Maintenance, date 23rd August to 27th August 2021, 1 week. Advanced Broadcast Accounting and Auditing, date 30th August to 24th September 2021, 4 weeks. Emotional Intelligence for Workplace Efficiency, date 6th September to 17th September 2021, 2 weeks. The course fee for the 4-week course is 100,000 naira per participant. The fee for the 2-week course is 80,000 naira. While the course fee for the 1-week course is 60,000 naira only, accommodation inclusive. The venue for all courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-079-5335 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
Nigerian youths are about the greatest assets the country has at the moment. It is therefore not surprising that the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari is strategically responding to the yearnings of the youth through multiple projects and programs. Youth Entrepreneurship Support Years by Bank of Industry, the Youth Investment Fund by the CBN, and several other conditional cash transfer programs. Recruitment of 774,000 social workers, majority of whom are youths, and so many other projects that are beneficial to youths directly or indirectly. If the administration can do all this, definitely with a degree of patience and time, it can achieve more. Nigerian youths must come together to say no to terrorism, no to vandalism, and no to all disruptive tendencies. Hashtag Youth for Greater Nigeria. Pacifying the youths, unifying the nation.
thank you for staying with us on Good Morning Nigeria up to this moment. And as a prompt for our conversation segment, which is on COVID-19 matters arising, let's take this background report put together by Joseph Otseng.
COVID-19 cases are rising and the surge is alarming. Yet many Nigerians still disregard non-pharmaceutical protective guidelines. Vaccine hesitancy persists and skepticism hover in the air. The Delta variant of coronavirus is spreading fast globally, and it is said to be responsible for more than 90% of new cases across the world. In Nigeria, the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 puts the positivity ratio currently at 6%, and it says the trend is worrisome. Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Oyo, Rivers, Kano, Plateau, and Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, are flashpoints of the Delta variant, with more than 30 cases of the variant detected in these states.
This development calls for great caution because the virus is very virulent. We must therefore keep observing the non-pharmaceutical interventions and also ensure that we get vaccinated.
As authorities review the national and international travel portal towards hitch-free experience for travelers, the federal government has taken delivery of more than 4 million doses of the Moderna vaccine from the United States to fight the pandemic.
Nigeria has a good monitoring system of AEFI. So the vaccine is highly effective, so more over 94%.
The World Health Organization has also donated ventilators and oxygen equipment to Nigeria for management of patients. So far, an average of 2 million people have been vaccinated in Nigeria, but vaccination of 70% of the population is required to achieve herd immunity. How can the authorities get the buy-in of everyone to contain the pandemic? Good Morning Nigeria will discuss this and other matters arising on COVID-19.
And to begin our conversation on COVID-19 and matters arising, we have here in the studio the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Welcome, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you.
Let's get started by sounding a little bit pessimistic and negative somehow, given the fact that there is a spike now in COVID-19 cases in Nigeria. And a lot of Nigerians seem to be, not caring so much about non-pharmaceutical, measures. And just recently, and just some moments ago, we read about the suspension of the, rollout of the COVID-19 vaccines and the National Association of Resident Doctors strike. All these happen to be on the table for the government, and it's really worrisome. How so worrisome is this?
Thank you for having me here this morning. Yes, the truth of the matter is that Nigeria is today officially in the third wave of the COVID-19. When it's third wave of COVID-19, because there's been an increase in COVID-19 cases in the last couple of weeks. As a matter of fact, as from July, we've been witnessing increase in COVID-19 cases in states like Lagos, Akwa Ibom, Oyo, Rivers, Kaduna, Plateau, and Kano State. Unfortunately, too, the global situation is not better at all. Since July, we've also witnessed an increase week by week globally of the COVID-19 infections. As a matter of fact, we've witnessed about 4 million global infection figure in the last week alone. And when you compare this to what the situation was the previous week, you see a marked improvement. Today, globally, we are witnessing about 570,000 daily cases, as opposed to slightly over 540,000 just a week before. So we're in a situation today where we have about almost 200 million cases that worldwide, and almost about 4.2 million deaths. We're witnessing almost 64,000 deaths, on a weekly basis. So really, this is a time for Nigerians and the entire world to take very seriously the non-pharmaceutical intervention. I think the case today has also been worsened by the Delta variant of the COVID-19. And unfortunately, again, this variant has been confirmed in several states in Nigeria. And the terrible thing about this, variant is that it's about 60 times more potent than the wild variant of COVID-2. Not that alone, is more easily transmissible. It's very virulent and it's deadly. This, I think, really causes for concern. And really, the recent increase, even in Nigeria, in the COVID-19 cases is directly probably attributable to the Delta variant of COVID-19, especially those who have imported them and circulated them, and those who have come from what we call high-risk countries and their contacts. And this is why one of the things the Presidential Steering Committee has done is to review globally the risk, importation of this, variant. And we have classified some countries as restricted countries. These countries today are Turkey, South Africa, India, and Brazil. Now, it's important to understand the travel protocol around these particular 4 countries, which I've mentioned, which today we call restricted countries. It's not a final list, and we will not hesitate to add to that list any country that we think is, a high-risk country. And the travel protocol around these 4 countries is that no citizens of those countries can enter Nigeria except those of them who are diplomats, those who are coming for high-level meeting with government, or those who are coming with, for, very critical economic engagements. So otherwise, if you're a citizen from any of those countries and you are coming directly into Nigeria, you're not allowed.
All right, sir. I'm not pausing you. Just to continue the conversation from where you stopped. You said Turkey, South Africa, India, Brazil are the restricted countries at the moment.
Yes.
But these are basically countries where you have many Nigerians residing in. And they also make trips to and fro, Nigeria as well. Yeah. With respect to the protocol you talked about, it does appear that some authorities have relaxed this protocol at the airport. And to take this on as well with it, some states in Nigeria may have or look as if they have relaxed the measures, being taken initially, to curb the spread of this virus. Now that we have, the Delta, variant of the virus, it becomes more dangerous. So what is the PLC doing to ensure that we'll, reactivate those measures?
Yes, Kira, see, let me first address the issue of Nigerians living in Turkey, living in South Africa, Brazil, and India. Because they are Nigerians, we cannot prevent them from coming home. Just like if a Turkish national or a Brazilian has a resident permit in Nigeria, we will allow him. But they must follow strict, travel protocol, which means when they arrive in Nigeria, they will have to spend a mandatory 7 days, in a government-supervised quarantine. And when they get there, they'll be monitored closely. They'll be tested day 2. They'll be tested day 7 before they are released to go and continue their businesses. I'm talking about Nigerians. I've said ab initio, nationals from those countries cannot come directly from those countries. But unless if you could leave Brazil, go to Ghana, spend at least 14 days, and then come from Ghana. Okay, yes, that's okay. But coming straight from Brazil or India or Turkey or South Africa without those qualifications, you cannot enter Nigeria. But for Nigerians who are coming in, they will have to spend 7 days. Not self-isolation, no. They have to be in a government-supervised quarantine and facility. And they will not be tested day 2. They will be tested day 7. It's only when they now test negative at day 7 that will be allowed to enter the country. Now, the second issue is that you raised the issue that some state governments and probably are not taking, or some are not taking this non-pharmaceutical intervention seriously. The truth of the matter is that the whole of the country is not taking it seriously, which is very sad. Very sad in the sense that as of today, we've only vaccinated less than 2% of the population. That's a long cry from the 70% vaccination that we need to achieve herd immunity. So this is why, even if you have taken your 2 doses, it does not prevent you. I mean, it doesn't mean that because you have taken the 2 doses, you can walk about without your mask, without washing your hands, without keeping social distancing. Because if you do that, you are still vulnerable to transmit. You can still be infected, but then you will not be seriously sick, and you will not likely die. You might not even be hospitalized. But especially if it's the Delta variant, you'll be able to transmit it even faster. Because you presume you are safe. And this is why we're a bit worried and concerned about this vaccine passport policy. I'll come to that later. But to come back to your question, what is the PSC doing? We've actually, especially with we'll be able to identify the Delta variant in several states in Nigeria. And because it is a very deadly variant, it kills, it's virulent, it spreads faster. We've met with the leadership of these state governments, and we've advised them that they need to reinforce their surveillance system. They need to ramp up their testing. They need to reopen the isolation centers. In addition, they need to invest more in advocacy of not violating the MPI. And more importantly, of course, there will be the need for risk communication and community collaboration. Because we now need more community volunteers and more experts in intensive care, sector of the medicine. Because the Delta variant is here, is real, and it's in Nigeria.
Okay.
And frankly speaking, with the low level of vaccination in Nigeria today, we all need to keep more, to abide more seriously with the MPI. Again, most Nigerians, even when they do not come from the non-restricted, from where they come from, because I said countries like Turkey, Brazil, India, and South Africa are restricted countries. But even countries that are not restricted there's also a travel protocol around those countries. If you come, for instance, today from the UK, from the US, from Ghana, the travel protocol is for you to be in self-isolation for 7 days and do a test at the end of the 7th day before you are admitted to society.
Yeah, Honorable Minister, that's a good protocol, but it seems as if we may not really want to beat the dead horse because the Delta variant is already here, it has come in. So let's now try to address how to, approach it and then stop it from spreading. There are indications that, a lot of people escape quarantine, really, from the airports and as they come in. And the proliferation and the spread of this Delta variant may be attributed to this. Had that been stopped from the beginning, we may not have it right now, but since it is here, and then you're really, stressing the fact that the travel protocol is in place, how do we get the states and the people of Nigeria understand that this protocol is not meant for government to enforce alone, but for public also to monitor? We have relations, we have people from outside that come in, and when you say they should stay in a hotel, government-supervised quarantine, it seems the relations are aware of that. But sometimes they don't care about that and they just allow, he's been out for a year or two, we are happy he's back, and handshakes and the rest of all these non-pharmaceutical measures, seem to be thrown to the dogs.
I agree 100% with you, and that's our problem. Even those who are coming from non-restricted countries, when they come, even in their so-called self-isolation, they invite friends and families. And this is dangerous. That is why we are reinforcing our risk communication, team to continue to draw me to Nigerians that the danger of violating or not obeying these MPI is that we're endangering the whole nation. We're endangering our relations, our friends, and as rightly said, the PSC cannot be in everybody's house to see whether truly or not you are, obeying the MPI, the travel protocol. I know that we need it because the ideal thing is for us to be able to monitor you, even your self-isolation, to say, where are you? What are you doing? But in Nigeria, we embark on that, but Nigerians are a bit too resourceful. And they have a way of beating us to it, but we will not give up. And this is why we're asking for better collaboration with all the states and local government. Because at the end of the day, not everybody that comes in, will do is a quarantine, in Abuja. Depending on which airport you come from. you come in from Lagos, for instance, you have to do your quarantine because if you come from if you're coming from Kano and things like that. So we actually need more collaboration with the states.
All right, Honorable Minister, the first set of vaccine that were administered on Nigerians was AstraZeneca. Yeah. And at the moment, we have the Moderna vaccines, which have arrived. Let's say about 4,080,000 doses. Yeah. Now, can you tell us more about this particular vaccine and what's the difference between Moderna and AstraZeneca, and how will you convince Nigerians, who most of whom are even hesitant in terms of taking the jabs in the first place, to take this one, which is new to Nigeria?
I think I want to take the opportunity to thank Nigerians for the way they responded to the first batch of the AstraZeneca, vaccine. I can say authoritatively that we succeeded in administering the first batch, the 4 million doses of AstraZeneca, and we do not have one single expired, vaccine. They were all, administered to the targeted, population. And I want to encourage Nigerians to please come out also to take the Moderna vaccine. In terms of differences between Moderna and AstraZeneca, I don't think there's much. Of course, I'm not a scientist, in the sense that both vaccines, you need 2 doses. But in the case of Moderna vaccine, you need to take the 2 within a 4-week interval. And then it has between 72% to 95%, efficiency. Yes, we are right, we received about 4 million of such, actually 4,080,000 doses. We would commence the administration of, to administer these doses next week, Monday. And this time around, we're going to target people who are 18 and above. Because incidentally, in the US in particular today, the younger ones are now becoming more vulnerable to attack and to infection.
But I'm not cutting you short, Honorable Minister. The Daily Trust is reporting right away that the federal government postpones COVID-19 vaccination. It's doubts donated doses. What would you say about this?
Well, I want to hear that again, sir.
FG, federal government postpones COVID-19 vaccination as doubts donated doses, which means it's been suspended.
No.
The PSC announced this yesterday.
We suspended it till Monday. It was supposed to be launched tomorrow.
Right.
But then, you see, when vaccines arrive, they are taken to NAFDAC. NAFDAC will analyze it, and NAFDAC will give us the green light. It's purely administrative. Okay. That is what is happening. And you see, this is the problem. You see, after the pandemic, the infodemic is another problem that, the PSC is fighting, which is the fake news around the vaccine, which is the vaccine hesitancy. There are so many, people who are being misinformed about the potency or safety of these vaccines. For instance, they first came up and said there's what is called magnetic effect if you take the vaccine. After that, they said it's actually meant to depopulate certain parts of the country, but it's not true. Every vaccine in use today has been proven to be safe. It has been proven also to save lives. Okay. And so the risk communication pillar of the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 and the vaccine demand generation arm of the National Health Delivery Agency, we're all working together to fight this fake news, to And we're enlisting the support of religious leaders, community leaders, the media, influential people to fight this disinformation, to fight this fake news. If these vaccines are not safe, they will not be administered.
Okay.
And it has been found also, not only are they safe, they actually do save lives.
Okay.
Like I explained at the beginning, if you have your 2 doses, at least something is clear. Even if you catch, COVID-19 again, it will be very mild. You will not be hospitalized, talk less of dying. As opposed to the fellow who has not taken any vaccine.
Okay.
So we must encourage, people to go out and take the vaccine.
Okay. But Honorable Minister, Minister, what is also worrisome is the fact that some influential persons are the purveyors of these fake news concerning the vaccines. You see leaders of, churches, people who have followers, come on social media to really, put down the vaccine. And it's so worrisome because many are believing, their pastors, for instance, the pastor cannot tell us lies and all that. That is one. How do we now checkmate such individuals? That's one. Another is the fact that it has become so difficult to track down violators of the travel protocol. And that is another dangerous aspect of these variants we're talking about. Yeah. Because personally, I know persons who came back from UK, they had to do burials and all of that. They find themselves in the villages without even form of quarantine. So why is it difficult to track them down? Or have we, at some point, relaxed this protocol thing by those persons who are in charge at the port of entry?
Yeah, you see, I agree with you that otherwise responsible people have been found to be behind this fake news about vaccines. Some do it for very selfish reasons. Some do it out of ignorance. But if it's any comfort, it's not just in Nigeria. It's everywhere in the US, in the UK, in China, everywhere in the world. There are some people who are simply bent for whatever reasons to disinform and pass this fake news and say that you don't need the vaccine. What we do in Nigeria, especially with the Presidential Steering Committee, is that we are driven by science, not by conjunction. Sorry, not by conjectures. We are driven by science. And we know that it is true that it's COVID-19. It's true, it kills. I came from Lagos yesterday, and a very influential Nigerian sat by me, and we were just talking. He said he was number 7 in the list of people that caught COVID in Nigeria and got admitted to isolation center. That he was there for 21 days. That he never knew he would survive it. That he was always fearful when night came, because he never knew whether he would see morning. That for 21 days, he did not even know where he was. And I tried to encourage him to please be our advocate. Because he's very high-ranking. He's a politically exposed person. And people like that can come out. I think it will be more believable. As to how do we track violators, we need everybody's support. You see, it's very easy to know who's a violator. A man comes back from the UK or from Russia, and the next day you see me in the market. Next day you see me in the supermarket. Next day you should not be. You should be courageous enough to report him to the authorities. But unfortunately, we don't have that kind of cooperation from Nigerians. But it's important because you are not being a traitor. No, you are saving yourself, you are saving your loved ones, and you are saving society.
But it so seems, Honorable Minister, that at the point of entry, that is where Nigerians are looking at. The authorities, the feeling in the public is that the authorities should be so serious and stringent at the points of entry and ensure that these protocols are abided by. That is one. Number two, I want you to really comment on the pressure now that is being brought on this very issue of COVID-19 by the residents' doctors' strike, which started on Monday. And it seems as if there is no sign of abating inside, given the stance of the two parties. Now, these are two great issues that really needs to be addressed and then approached in a very serious way in order to curb the spread of COVID-19.
Yes, you see, the first one, like I explained to you, sir, there are two. We have ranked countries into two. Countries of concern, which we have said restricted, which we call it restricted countries, and then countries which are not restricted, but nonetheless, where we have to monitor, people coming from there. Now, for countries that are restricted, here we have taken a very bold decision that nobody from those countries will come in except these exemptions I gave earlier on. So, which means it's only Nigerians from those countries now that will have to do, compulsory, quarantine, plus those of them that come from those countries that have been exempted. Now, but the majority of our problem are those who are coming from non-restricted countries, who we cannot detain at the airport, who we cannot take to government supervised quarantine facility, but who we trust will go home and self-isolate. This is a major headache. They come in and the next day they are in the offices. They hardly go on self-isolation. Neither do they go for the mandatory 7th-day test. They just make with society. So, frankly speaking, we need everybody's support.
And why can't such be brought under the real restriction now?
Pardon?
Instead of having to just limit it to those countries that are really high risk and then allowing Nigerians from other countries to be coming in and then take it onto themselves to do it. They are not doing it.
You want us to put everybody in quarantine?
Not everybody that comes in should follow the protocol and then not be allowed to go home and then feel he can. They are not doing it.
See, what that will mean is that everybody who travels from anywhere in the world and comes to Nigeria today would have to be quarantined. They are not even in public quarantine facilities to take everybody. There are those practical challenges. And plus, the global practice, what we are doing. But we need to appeal to our people, more to cooperate with us. And as to the
that's right.
Yeah, it's not only just complicating the COVID-19 issue. It is complicating the entire health issue in the country, and we can only hope for a quick resolution to the problem.
All right, Honorable Minister, well, our time with you is actually up, but let's get your last.
36, I think about 43 of them, but only the Minister of Health can actually tell us the status of this particular country. But my advice to Nigerians, my last word, please, COVID-19 is real. And it's about science. It's not about opinions. The Delta variant is virulent, is 60% more potent than the other variants. It is easily transmissible and it kills fast. Nigerians should please not take the non-pharmaceutical intervention protocol lightly, because in a country that has not vaccinated 2% of its population, he cannot claim herd immunity. You need 70% vaccination to get to that level. You look at the gap between 2% and 70%. So please, we would appeal to Nigerians, because they are not just endangering themselves, their family and everybody. And when you look at today, I was listening to the CNN news. Over 100,000 cases have been reported in the US daily, as we speak today. And when you look at the consequences of COVID-19 on our health structure, on our health infrastructure, on our economy, it's better to prevent it. And all you need, wear your mask when you're in public, wash your hands with water and soap. If you have sanitizer, use your sanitizer. Avoid, mass gathering. Use your face mask. But regrettably, Nigerians were behaving as if we are
Nothing has happened.
On a final note, Honorable Minister, do we see the possibility of reverting to enforcing the non-pharmaceutical measures as we did in the first and second waves in such a way that people should now feel as if they should be forced now, because it's an attitudinal thing. It doesn't really now affect one person or two persons. It has moved from individual to community spread now. Do we see that inside if this attitude continues among Nigerians?
Yeah, honestly, my appeal would be to state governments and local governments. It's achievable. Okay. If you make wearing of mask compulsory and the condition precedent to transacting business at all levels, and to go to the hospital, wear your mask. You want to go to the market, local government chairman, tell them if you wear your mask, you don't enter. You want to go and renew your driving license, you must wear your mask. You want to go and get your tax clearance, wear your mask. You want to even go and look for wear your mask. If we insist on that, it will go a long way in preventing infection.
All right, Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, I would like to thank you for your time, and of course I appreciate your contribution to this very important conversation. I would like to also appreciate all the efforts you are making. Of course, you're a member of the PSC. Let's see what happens from now on, that we have already itemized some of the issues surrounding this, the third wave of COVID-19 in Nigeria. Thank you so much for coming.
Great, a pleasure always to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, reaching you live on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation on COVID-19 and matters arising. This time around, we're going to be talking to professionals in the field. Stay with us.
A new edition of TV Guide is out, exclusively with Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State.
Since assuming office, our rescue administration has pursued the path of peace and reconciliation and restored confidence among people of different ethnic, religious, and political persuasions. Peace is back on the plateau. We are building world-class infrastructure in roads and opening up opportunities for innovation.
The edition is a compendium of mind-blowing stories for your reading pleasure, ranging from entertainment, economy, sports, media, politics, family, and lots more. Pick up a copy and keep abreast with issues and trending features within our space. TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or any NTA station nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. 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 My culture preaches peace.
Even our religion
preaches peace.
If our culture preaches peace, remember your culture. Use your voter's card. Vote peacefully
and wisely. We are one.
This message is from the National Council for Arts and Culture.
It
It's the dawn of a new era on NTA's flagship program, the Sports Parliament, revitalized with lots of varieties, including feedback responses from viewers. Sports Parliament, the weekly sports show that exposes all the intrigues in the Nigerian sports sector and projects an agenda on the way forward for Nigerian sports. On NTA every Thursday at 10:30 p.m., running for 1 whole hour, discussing sports. The parliamentarians are more committed than ever to enlighten the viewers as the Sports Parliament takes it to a whole new level on the floor of the House. Keep a date with the Sports Parliament as motions are moved every Thursday on the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, with his gavel to harmonize sports resolutions. The House have it.
My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. My culture preaches peace. 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 My culture preaches peace.
Even our religion
Preaches peace.
If our culture preaches peace, remember your culture. Use your voter's card. Vote peacefully
And wisely. We are one.
This message is from the National Council for Arts and Culture.
Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and of course, we're reaching you from the Nigerian Television Authority. We're discussing COVID-19 and matters arising. The second part of this segment, as my colleague earlier said, is going to look at the views of the experts on this third wave of COVID-19. And joining us from Ibadan studio is Dr. Taiwo Ladipo, Manager of Oyo State Task Force Team on COVID-19. Many thanks for joining us, Dr. Ladipo. Let's get your views about the current situation of COVID-19 in Nigeria. The Honorable Minister just left, and I hope you've followed the conversation from the beginning. We are now officially in the third wave of COVID-19, and indeed, it's really a very sad situation. Unfortunately, Nigerians are not really hidden to, adhering to the, non-pharmaceutical measures in order to curb the spread, but it seems as if it's spreading so widely. What's your views about that?
I think the Honorable Minister said it all. The level of transmission is really high in the communities, and in Oyo State, we've been seeing quite a number of people that are coming down ill. We've had significant levels of deaths, and we are also in tandem with that view of the Honorable Minister when it comes to the issues pertaining to the non-therapeutic measures that have been placed on COVID-19 prevention. And it's really sad, really, that people are not really considering using those measures in terms of giving themselves, loved ones, and the community at large some level of protection. And that's what we've seen here. And I guess that's what is all over the country. And it's something that all hands must be on deck to forestall. Thank you.
Tell us more about the Delta variant, which is now spreading very fast in this country. How virulent is its nature, and how dangerous is it for Nigerians to know? And then maybe that could just send some message to them and start, taking this measure seriously.
Thank you very much. I think I would like to draw us back to the initial case in 2019. And then we saw a variant that came up in Great Britain. That was christened the Alpha variant. The Alpha variant then was said to be about 80 to 90% more transmissible than the initial variant that we saw. And then by lower part of 2020 and earlier part of this year, we started seeing the Delta variant in India. And the Delta variant is said to be about 60%, 50 to 60% more transmissible than the Alpha variant that was in England. And that tells you that we are dealing with something that is fast spreading, a bit more, a lot more contagious, and a lot more severe in terms of the outcomes of the disease. The number of deaths that we are seeing now outshines the levels that we've had in the so-called first and the second wave of the pandemic in this country. So people need to understand that where we are now, it's not where we were some months or a year ago. And for that reason, we need to take this matter a bit more seriously.
Now, talking about taking it more seriously, Oyo State is one of the states where the Delta variant has taken its toll. What special measures are being taken by the Oyo State government to curb that? And again, we would like you to also lead us into understanding the biological makeup of the different variants that we are having. We understand that viruses mutate with time, and that's why we have all these variants. In the case of Delta variant, which is globally described as very dangerous, what is the biological makeup of it and what made it so virulent?
Okay, I'll start with what Oyo State has done. In the last few weeks, Oyo State has had to reopen those isolation centers that were initially built, but when we had little need for them, they were designated for other healthcare activities. But as we speak now, we have about 4 of them currently operational, and they are taking patients. The issue of social mobilization is also being given a lot of credence, because we understand that people can only help in mitigating the spread, because the virus itself doesn't move around. It's individuals that move the virus. So a lot is being done to try to get people to understand that these non-therapeutic preventive measures need to be adhered to as much as possible. It's an uphill task, and we are still trying to grapple with that within the population. Going back to the second one, the biological makeup, you need to understand that in nature, there's always that zeal to survive. And you also need to understand that reproduction also comes in, and the genetic makeup of offsprings have some mild alterations with the parents. And you will understand that by the time the variants started to show up, people found that they were adapting to whatever the virus was doing. And the virus needs to have some alterations in its life form to be able to overcome that adaptation of man. And that's what we saw. And it is not surprising, because we do understand that that is the only thing that will make the virus survive and maybe outlive some of us. And going to look at that, some particular part of the structure, the genetic structure of the virus, which is known as the RNA, are actually what the proteins there change a little, and that is what caused the so-called mutation. And this mutation allows it to be able to overcome some of the therapeutic measures that are put in place. Initially, when this started, we had some drugs coming up. They gave some relief. But over time, by the time these variants came up, those drugs are no longer as effective as they were. And this is what we would continue to see for a while, until perhaps we have so-called herd immunity that we are trying to clamor for by taking all the vaccines, as we are actually hoping to do. Thank you.
And indeed, Doctor, it seems as if the Delta variant is different in some ways from the Alpha variant we fought tooth and nail at the beginning, and then we were able to overcome. If I should ask you this, Are the symptoms of Delta variant of COVID-19 the same or similar with that of Alpha variant? Or, I mean, how do we differentiate the two, if they can be differentiated anyway?
Thank you very much. You need to understand that they are, in the first instance, the same virus. So they would actually have some or quite a lot of similar characteristics, similar means of presentation. However, in Oyo State, what we found, especially with those cases that we were able to isolate the virus, we found a lot more higher levels of muscle aches and pains, headache, and strikingly, diarrhea. And that has not been what is what obtains when we started out. But then we still continue having the same symptoms of respiratory distress, loss of smell, loss of taste. But the striking one, really, is the diarrhea that came with the advent of the Delta variant in the state. And between the 22nd of June, when the state actually noticed that, and actually had the isolation of the strain within us, we've seen quite a number of clients coming up with the diarrhea and severe muscle pains and aches. And that is perhaps a bit of deviation from what we used to see when the COVID-19 pandemic started.
Thank you indeed, Dr. Ladipo. We'll be returning to you in the course of the conversation. Right now we have in our studio Dr. Mukhtar Mohammed. Dr. Mukhtar Mohammed is the National Incident Manager and Technical Head, Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19. You are indeed welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
All right. Nadabo, this is the man we are looking for.
Of course, yes, he is.
Give us an idea, or give us a brief, of this issue of Delta variant. Of course, it has been reported in some states of the Federation, and we are so apprehensive because of the fact that it said that it's highly potent, and of course, it's easily transmissible, and all that. So let us get to understand from you what this Delta variant is all about, and how much of this, how much Nigerians are exposed to this particular variant.
Thank you very much, and good morning, viewers. So when we talk of the Delta variant of the coronavirus or SARS-CoV-2, it is one of the mutants that arise as a result of the normal changes that occur within the virus life cycle. And there are many other variants. We've discussed, we have the Alpha variant, we have the Gamma variant, and now we have what they call the Kappa variant. The Delta variant is the one that started in India. And we know that based on what happened in that country and in all other countries where it appeared, is that within a very short period of time, it dominates the other strains. In virus reproductivity or in virus transmission, we talk about what is called the reproductive number. So for the normal variant or the wild type, that one affects maybe between 1.5 to 2 persons. That is from one person who is infected. But for the Delta variant, it is up to 9 times that amount. So you can imagine, what it will cause when it appears in a society. Secondly, it also has, the Delta variant tends to produce higher viral load. It multiplies more within the body of an individual than the other viruses. So if you conduct a test now and you take a swab from someone who has a Delta variant, you will likely find 1,000 times more viral load than the other variant. So that means that it infects the person more, it is more virulent, and it causes more and severe disease. So the Delta variant, its appearance from the public health perspective is that more people are likely to get infected within a short period of time. It is likely to cause severity of the disease, as we will see in hospitalization and also in death. And when that happens, there is also a secondary effect. The secondary effect is that when you have so many people getting infected and rushing to the hospital becomes overwhelmed. The health workers will not be available to attend to everyone. The resources at the health facility easily become depleted. And then people with other diseases also will now start dying because they are not being attended to by the physician. Now, that is the secondary effect of what we see from the Delta variant.
But from what is happening right now, Doctor, it seems as if we are in for it. We may be at the crossroads, I don't know, but I don't want to sound too pessimistic anyway. It's spreading. In the past 2-3 weeks, you can see how the spike goes up. And then we look at it as if nothing is being done in order to arrest it, given the fact that every day it's an increase, And we're talking about flattening the curve. It seems that the curve is now maybe going up. I don't know, how disturbing is this to the PSA?
It's actually very disturbing. And if you recall, not now, several months ago, 3-4 months ago, we've been warning about consistent use of compliance to non-pharmaceutical interventions. Now, when Delta variant appears in an unmitigated society, where these measures are not happening, it is fatal, it is devastating, and it causes havoc in that society. We tried as much as possible to sensitize people to make sure that people continue to wear the mask, and we continue to observe the social distancing, and we continue to avoid gathering in public places. But what have we done? We tried as much as possible to slow down the entry of this Delta virus. That is why we identified certain countries as countries of concern, and we put on those restrictions. We also put on more measures to ensure that people coming into the country, follow certain protocols, and we make it more restrictive. And even those that are coming from the non-red countries, we urge them that they should stay and do the mandatory 7-day isolation before they start meeting the public. So we knew it was a race against time. And we know that we can only slow down the entry of Delta variant. We cannot completely eliminate it from coming into the country. Now that it is coming, and at the time we are now, with the current state of non-compliance in our society. Certainly it is worrisome. The PSC is very worried, and we've identified certain states. We predicted that these states are going to be the hotbed of these focal epidemics when it occurs, and therefore we need to put more measures. We have already discussed with the authorities to take measures to ensure that when this happens, we are on top of it, we mitigate the impact of COVID-19, and we try to contain the spread.
When you say when this happens, I mean, it's already happening, Doctor. I'm afraid at the beginning when this COVID-19 started in 2020, the measures, people were really very afraid of it. That's really very fearful about it. People were dying, and we can see how, facilities in countries that are really developed are being overwhelmed. And recently we can see how the devastating effect that is of the Delta variant in India, Brazil, Turkey, and some other places. And I'm afraid, should this situation come near happening in Nigeria, that's going to be too much a devastation, given the fact that our facilities are not as developed as in those countries. I mean, it's really terrible.
It is absolutely terrible, but I think hope is not lost. Like I told you, we have identified these high priority states and are working with the state governments to ensure that we put things in place. Now, what we need to do is, number one, to ensure that we enforce compliance in these states. People wear their mask, public spaces are controlled, and we make sure that general gatherings are avoided completely. You saw that when in our message during the Salah, that was why we curtailed, that congregation, and the Salah Eid prayer were decentralized. It was all in a bid, to reduce that. We cancelled Durbar celebration. And even now with political gatherings and others, we also released statements. Now, for this particular state is to make sure that they have these enforcement mechanisms in place. And if the infection starts to rise, then we will take measures that will ensure that will support the states to make sure that there is some level of restriction on movements of people. I know Nigeria, we don't want to talk about lockdown, but certainly we will look at, high congregation, high density areas and enforce measures that will ensure that, that congregation is restricted. Secondly, because if the numbers start rising again, a lot of people will go to hospital. What do they need? They need health care. So we are training all the medical officers or the health workers in the states are being trained continually. We're also recruiting people as volunteers. These are health workers who can be deployed at a very short period in time, to respond, to these focal epidemics. Thirdly, is to make sure that the treatment and care and support exist in the facilities. We have intensified, the opening of the intensive care facilities, the training of the intensivists, and also the production of oxygen. We have made an assessment in most of these priority states about the oxygen needs, of the population. And we had like 3 scenarios. If the cases continue to be low, what volume of oxygen is required for each patient? If it is intermediate, what do we do? And if it becomes severe, if the need becomes very high, what do we do? All these are put in place, and certainly we won't say that we are 100% ready, but at least efforts are being made to make sure that we address these issues when they arise.
Dr. Mohammed, from all indications, many Nigerians are not adhering to the protocol, especially those who are coming into the country from different parts of the world, not just the red states, as you mentioned earlier, but in some other countries of the world. And when they come into Nigeria, we are thinking that the authorities have relaxed, the enforcement of some of these protocols, especially at the points of entry. That is number one. And I'm glad you mentioned about oxygen, because that was the one of the challenges that we had in the second wave of COVID-19 in this country, even when we have lost some eminent Nigerians because of lack of oxygen. To what extent has the PSC gone to ensure that these oxygens are provided? In terms of the state government, which you said you're collaborating with, how serious are they in terms of keying into whatever measure that the PSC has to ensure that this is not proliferated, in the state? Because what happens, honestly speaking, is that in most states of Nigeria, people don't adhere to this non-pharmaceutical protocol. Churches, mosques, marketplaces, and what have you. And you are saying that if the variant rises, there is every indication that it is rising at the moment.
So let me start from the beginning. The measures of effort or the measures of control that we have at our point of entry have not relaxed. If anything, we have heightened them. We have recruited more people to work in the airports. We have made the conditions even more stringent, and we are enforcing to make sure that people do not slip away through the system. But, Nigerians, the good thing is we have had a very serious leadership at the Presidential Steering Committee. And I tell you, Mr. President is very committed. The chairman of the Presidential Steering Committee, Boss Mustafa, is taking a lot of his time and effort to ensure that these things are implemented and that they are in place. So in terms of the point of entry, we have the support at the highest level to make sure that people do not evade protocol. But Nigerians, when they come back, people do all sorts of means, by deceit, by force, by intimidation, to try to get away. Luckily for us, I will tell you that high-profile people mostly comply. We've had ministers who came into the country and they agreed and abided by going into protocol. We have senators who have done that. But, some of the middle and low people are the ones that are belligerent. They are the ones that fight and do everything to get away from it. Some of them, we successfully take them to the quarantine facility, but it's either they don't observe the rules, in those quarantine facilities, or they find a way to get, and some people even aid and abet them, to escape from these quarantine facilities. Tomorrow we're going to publish a list of over 500 people. We just cleared the list that include both Nigerians and non-Nigerians. So our efforts at the points of entry are actually being heightened, and we are doing everything possible to make sure that people don't evade this quarantine. Secondly, you mentioned the issue of the oxygen. And what we're doing. Oxygen is very critical. Yes, during the second wave, we saw it as one of the gaps. But right now, the federal government is working to put on new 38 oxygen facilities. That is in all the states of the country, including FCT. We're also repairing about 18 oxygen plants that are no longer being used. Already the work is in progress. The contractors have been mobilized, and these facilities are going to be fixed in the next 2 weeks. Thirdly, we're also looking at getting oxygen from non-conventional places. That is non-medical oxygen now. We have industrial production of oxygen, and we're looking at converting that capacity into clinical oxygen that can be utilized in the facility. So these measures are being in place, and the Ministry of Health is on top of this, and oxygen is being... Right now, at our current utilization, oxygen is not a problem in all of the states where oxygen is needed. Now, thirdly, you talked about the commitment of the state governors. Yes, what we have seen is they are very interested, they are sensitized, they are willing to do a lot. But from the state government, what we realize is that there is priority and also lack of funds. There is so much funds at the state level, and there are so many other competing priority activities that COVID-19 actually requires additional funds to be able to succeed in the states. So we're discussing with them, we're discussing with Ministry of Finance to see how additional funds, and also with the World Bank, to see how additional funds can be provided to the states to take on these issues. But you are absolutely right. Nigerians have lowered their guards. Nigerians are not complying to this protocol, and at this very dangerous point where we are seeing a rising number of cases, where 80% of the new cases, particularly what we saw in Akwa Ibom, are due to Delta variant. It's really something that calls for an urgent action that requires resources that are needed to make sure that we are on top of this.
Okay, we'll come back to you, Dr. Mukhtar Muhammad. We'll talk about vaccination now, and then we'll be able to deal with what we have at hand before the new cases come up. Dr. Taiwo, please talk to us about Oyo State now, since you had the Oyo State Task Force team on COVID-19. What's the situation really in Oyo State, talking about vaccination and the efforts of the state government in trying to, meet up with what is on the ground, facilities-wise, vaccination-wise, and of course, enlightenment too, to the public?
Thank you very much. You may recall that the first tranche of vaccines that came into the state was 127,400 doses. And as of June, the state had actually exhausted those, and we're expecting to start the next level of vaccination pretty soon, I think by the end of this week. But more importantly, a lot of social mobilization is being done because this next level of vaccination will take into cognizance retired people, the older ones, and the middle-aged ones with comorbidities. We've been able to try to get some form of relationship with them. For instance, we've talked to the Nigerian Association of Pensioners, and we are looking at getting the vaccines across to that level through their outlets. Going forward, we understand that when the vaccination started, there was so much denial and rejection to the vaccination. However, with the advent of the third wave as it is now, quite a number of people are actually seeing the fact that the unvaccinated are actually at a higher risk. And as such, we are now being met at the middle by quite a number of requests that are coming from the public for vaccination. And we hope that by the time we are really now the new levels, the new tranche of vaccines, we will have more people that are going to show more interest. the initial pushbacks are actually being overcome. And then finally, we've been able to talk to people at the local government facilities. We've looked at the cold chain system. We are quite happy with the level of support that has come from the federal government and from partners and agencies for the having of the cold chain improvement for the Moderna vaccines. Right now, the discussion in the state is about those people that are taking the first dose of the AstraZeneca and trying to get them to understand that the new vaccines that are coming in are Moderna. And the efforts are being made to ensure that those that had the first dose only of this AstraZeneca will have the AstraZeneca second dose and not mixing up with the Moderna. And as it is now, that is what we have in the state. The issues pertaining to oxygen, the state is working with UCH. We've had some hiccups in terms of oxygen some couple of weeks back, and then currently we've been able to resuscitate some of the plants. There was a plant that the state government with the University College Hospital have in place, and that has kick-started all over again, and we're able to run with the oxygen in all our facilities. So right now, the state seems to be a bit on a stable path. Yes, we're having quite a number of cases. We are reporting so many, but then we are prioritizing with those ones that need serious care, and we are ensuring that those ones that are in home isolation are being contacted every other day to ensure that we pick them off if there is any deterioration in their conditions. Thank you very much.
Dr. Mukhtar, let me ask you this. You just mentioned that some people took the first shot of AstraZeneca. Will it be medically okay for such persons to also take a Moderna first shot of vaccine? That's number one. Number two, Nigeria has just succeeded in vaccinating about 2% of the entire population, and we have over 4 million, 80,000 or thereabout of Moderna vaccine. And one would also like to ask about whether we have the facilities to be able to store Moderna vaccine until we're able to exhaust the ones that we have. And again, this number of doses available to Nigeria at the moment is not enough. So to really have more plans, to also see how we can, get more of these vaccines. Are we looking at other types of vaccines apart from AstraZeneca, Moderna? I also know we have other types of vaccine. Are we really interested in getting those other versions of vaccine to add to what we already have?
Yeah, thank you very much. So really the issue of, let me start from the beginning. The issue of taking one dose, in our case, people who have taken Oxford AstraZeneca as the first shot. And now Oxford AstraZeneca is not available. The only available vaccine now for the next few weeks is going to be Moderna. Can these people now take Moderna instead of Oxford AstraZeneca? These are issues that have been discussed globally. And the agreement among the scientific world is that you take the second dose of the vaccine that you took as a first dose. Because this is the immune system, the way the vaccines work is based on the priming by an initial dose to sensitize your body so that if the second dose comes now, your body will be able to react faster. So that is the protocol, and that we would like to stick to that as much as possible in Nigeria. So people who have taken Oxford AstraZeneca, and now it is not available, will have to wait a little. What we're trying to do is to try to get Oxford AstraZeneca as fast as we can into the country so that people who took their first dose will be able to take the second dose. For Moderna, Moderna is a messenger RNA vaccine. It's different from Oxford AstraZeneca. It requires a higher storage specification. You have to store it in minus 60 or so degrees centigrade. And even though you can keep it for about 1 month in a normal refrigerator, which is 2 to 8 degrees centigrade, now those mechanisms have been put in place. I'm aware that the Federal Ministry of Health and National Primary Healthcare Development Agency have worked on getting this cold chain, just as you heard from our colleague in Oyo State, that these have now been supplied to their states. Now, we have to exercise more caution in terms of logistics, in terms of utilization of the Moderna than we were with Oxford AstraZeneca. And as we mentioned, yes, we've only provided 4 million doses of Oxford AstraZeneca. And if we take it that people have taken 2 doses, it means it's only 2 million people who have gotten it. That's just 1% of the population. This Moderna too will add another 1% if everybody takes their second dose. That is grossly inadequate. It is unacceptable. And as long as we are not able to get these vaccines enough to have our 60 to 70% of our population vaccinated, we'll continue to ask people to comply to these measures that are very restrictive. Our economy will continue to suffer, because if the cases continue to rise, it will affect our economy. Our hospitals are going to suffer. Therefore, the bottom line is to get these vaccines available in the country, to make sure that we get whatever vaccine that is available, we get it into the country and make sure that our people are vaccinated. Regarding our plan, certainly I'm aware that we'll be getting additional doses of Oxford AstraZeneca before the end of this month. We are going to get another 18 million of Johnson & Johnson. But as you know, all these plans, can change because of what is happening globally. Right now, some countries are talking about booster doses. Now, if you're talking of booster doses, it means that they will now try to acquire more vaccines and accumulate them and keep it to their people. Now, that is not fair politics, not only Nigeria, but I think all developing...
That's a vaccine nationalism.
Exactly. So it is really... And you see, if you really look at it from the public health point, because it's politics that is driving this, from public health perspective, we do not make demarcation about barriers, because these viruses, they don't belong to any country. They do not require a visa to travel from one country to another. So if one country is not safe, it is like saying the entire world is not safe, because people will travel from one country to another.
Are we thinking of any homegrown plan for our own vaccination, or can we do anything about it in a nutshell?
Well, no, certainly. It always comes in our discussions, in meetings with the Federal Ministry of Health, and certainly the federal government is interested in doing that. But research is something that takes a lot of money. It doesn't take only money, it also takes a long time for you to be able to develop to where you want.
So many thanks, Dr. Mukhtar Mohammed. Mukhtar Mohammed is the National Incident Manager and Technical Head, Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19. It's a pleasure being with us this morning. Good morning, Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
I wish you all the best too.
Thank you.
You have a lot to do.
Thank you very much.
And also, a very big thank you also to Dr. Taiwo Ladipo, Manager of Oyo State Task Force Team on COVID-19. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And that's it on Good Morning Nigeria today. We thank you so much for being part of it. I am Yusuf Nadabu Usman. The program continues tomorrow.
And I am Kirian Umayo. Thank you for watching, and do have a great Monday.
NTA. You can't beat the rich.
We should understand that the well-being and the security of this country is the paramount to any government. Prior to now, we are doing more of defensive activities to protect our bases and fight the war when we are challenged or when an objective is attacked. But right now, what we do is to carry the battle into areas where the banditries or the Boko Harams or whatever. The Nigerian Army has brought into its platforms the BT tanks, main battle tanks, helicopters, Augusta 135, the MiG helicopters, which can operate even in the night, the Super Tucanos that are about to be launched.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
COVID-19, that is the black swan of the century, has actually hit the whole world very hard, even the strongest of economies, and Nigeria was not spared. But due to the proactive stance and steps that the president has taken, we've been able to come out quickly. The president has consistently said we must invest in infrastructure, even as we're investing in human capital, that we must invest in infrastructure, because at the end of the day, that is what will bring about a sustainable economic growth. So the president has given us our directive. He has said you must make sure you pay salaries and pay pensions, but you also make sure that the critical projects of roads, railway, airports, bridges, major infrastructure that are meant to drive the growth of the economy, that we consistently invest in them, even if we have to continue to borrow to do so.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The housing solution we have developed is a multifaceted one. First, we have tried to lead a program to build what we think will be an acceptable and hopefully affordable housing type based on surveys we did in 2015-2016 and construction that started in 2017. And that's going on in 34 states as the National Housing Program.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hello and welcome to Thoughts for the Week. I'm Cordelia Obe, and the idea is to talk about things we usually would talk about. This time using proverbs, wise sayings, fables, you call them any name from around the world. And what are we looking at today? We are looking at being faithful to our friends. Welcome. Now, I have a story to share. It's a fable because I have some animals in it. Many, many years ago, there was a shark who had a monkey as a best friend. Every time the shark would swim to the island where this monkey was, and they would they'll be happy together. One day the shark said, my friend. As some people would say, my friendship. You don't even know where I live. Won't you come and visit me one day? And the monkey said, okay, why not if not? So it hopped onto the back of the shark, and the shark swam fast and straight towards the middle of the sea. When he got to his own home, all his friends relatives and all that were very happy. And the monkey said, "Why are your family people this happy?" Shark said, our king is very sick. And they say we need the heart of the monkey to take care of him. And the monkey was almost fainting. Boy, he was very bold. So he said, my friend, why didn't you tell me what you wanted to do? You didn't trust me enough to tell me. Don't you know that we monkeys, we usually keep our hearts somewhere else? You see that tree you used to meet me? That is where I kept my heart now. And the shark said, He said, just take me back home. Let me collect my heart. I will come back. And the shark, okay. So to the amazement of everybody, the shark turned back and took the monkey back home. Now, our elders say, if God had not been the friend of the faithful ones and made them wise, even in the valley of death, life would have been extinct in the world. So, our monkey got home, got up to the tree, and told the shark that, you are a bad friend. Who told you? My heart is here with me. But thank God I escaped from you. And that was how the monkey got saved. My father told me that story many, many years ago. And I never forgot it. Because he said that every parent should teach the child or their children how to be faithful to their friends. When you are faithful to your friends, somehow, when they try to plot evil or anything bad against you, somehow you have a means of escaping. It may not be the case all the time, but posterity would hold it dear in its heart, knowing that you have been faithful to your friends. That story is a story we should share every time, because every day it seems as if things are getting worse. People don't trust each other anymore. Whose fault? Now, for our thoughts for the week. Are you a good friend? Or are you a friend who is deliberately leading other friends into evil traps just because you want to make your own ends meet? Are you teaching your children to be faithful to their friends, but at the same time to be very, very wise? Think on these things till we meet again next time. Take care of yourselves, my friend. My name is Cordelia Obe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
What do you pay attention to when you consider your clothing? Is it the feel of the fabric, the preciseness of the silhouette, or the quality of the stitching? What you wear should serve you far beyond simply making you look good. Important things to consider today on the program. My name is Onyekachi Oba, and this is Today's Style. Whether you're a modern day or a classic man, style is a reflection of your attitude and your personality. And it's paying attention to small details like the shape of your collar to the buttons on your cuffs that actually speak to your personality and elevate your style. FB Imago is a menswear brand that combines functionality with their clothes through these details. It's a forward-thinking fashion empire that started with a simple shirt. Do stay with us as we delve extensively into the creative world of menswear. It's a peculiar story how an international top-selling menswear brand came about. The husband and wife team of Fred and Blessing Chiazo originally went into business together with an idea that couldn't have been further away from fashion design. Under the name Creative Image, the pair started off in food processing and packaging. Forward to the present day, and they're instead producing and packaging a full range of menswear pieces, well known and highly regarded for their quality and innovative design techniques. Today we're going to be talking about menswear, and lending their expertise to this subject, I have with me Fred Chiazo, one half of the dynamic team behind the brand FB Imago. They have 8 years of expertise providing quality menswear for the stylish modern-day gentleman. Thank you for being on the program. I love the name of your brand. It's very ambiguous. It sparks curiosity. Anyone who hears it, they want to figure out what is this brand all about.
The FB stands for Fred and Blessing. For I and my wife, what we originally had in mind to do was not fashion. After a while, we looked at it, going through the processes we went through. We knew right now we've come of age, and we really need to find something that will interpret what we stand for. And Imago actually is the adult stage of an insect. When an insect comes to maturity, at that stage it is mature, it is ready to show off its wings, you know, and it's ready to fly. We decided to find a way to coin it to show the world that, okay, Fred and Blessing are of age. Now we are ready to fly. So we are not hiding under any other name that doesn't really show who we are. So we decided to go, okay, to say, here we have come.
And indeed, through an unconventional journey, the pair arrived at their fashion calling with bold ideas to solve problems. With unrelated career backgrounds in television and stock brokerage, Fred and Blessing had something important in common that made their transition into fashion design a remarkable fit, a unique perspective on functionality. It's interesting you said you didn't initially start off with the intention of, okay, we're going to just be in fashion. So how did that passion come about, that interest? Was it something that both of you, even before you decided this is what you wanted to do, you had interest in fashion, or were those formal training?
Like I said, initially it was not fashion at all. Yes. It's something different. The idea of fashion came when she saw a need in the fashion industry. Because you always go on tie, you have the dirt getting stuck on the collar. So in the process, you usually find that the collars usually fade or die before even the clothes. And she felt like, do we have to go through this process of having a very beautiful cloth, maybe a shirt, for instance, and the collar is gone? How do we solve the problem?
Brainstorming led them to find their first niche in menswear shirts, producing original designs that had detachable collars and cuffs to add longevity and a new dimension of functionality to this basic piece of clothing.
Just a few days ago, I saw the sketch, the notepad we had, that we sketched the collars, the curves. How can we replace the collars? How can we replace the curves? And I was like, wow, you mean what started like a dream is now real? It just brought the memory of how we sat down that night and we did all the sketching. How do we remove the collar? How do we replace the collar? How do we make it in such a way that it's convenient for whoever wants to use a shirt without having to struggle with maintaining the shirt? That is basically what made us go into fashion, to solve the problem of shirts.
All right, so both very creative and practical. You know, you applied situations that were happening to you and thought, how can we fix this? But even on a broader scale. And so now menswear is so broad, there's so many different aspects of it. So which aspect of menswear did you start out in? Was it just the shirts, working on the collars and the cuffs, or did you come out saying, okay, not just shirts, we're going to do the tons of things, the trousers, the jackets, the native wear?
Well, we started off with shirts, basically shirts. You know, for us, it was a problem that actually sent us into the industry. So we were focused on solving that problem. So it was just the shirt. The customers started coming in. They want you to go take it a step further. Can you make trousers for me because I like the shirt. After a while, we realized that the traditional Nigerian native wear is becoming too trendy, and people don't really want to wear shirts anymore. You know, I'm sure that many Nigerians will want to wear native to work on Monday, and because we were able to satisfy them, you know, they moved away from, can you make something traditional for me? So we had to go and start learning how to do that, you know, and we didn't just learn how to do that, we added something, because there's always something, a flavor we add to whatever we do, you know. So basically that's how we went into other stuff.
And speaking of that flavor, I noticed, like, looking at your pieces, it has a very distinct signature, you know, from the stitching, from the cut, even especially the embroidery. I love the embroidery designs that I've seen. So what helped you shape that signature, this special flavor that you add to your pieces?
Usually everybody goes with the regular machine design, they call it tinko, the embroidery. We do that. But we thought again, we can move away from that, and many people don't know. We were the first people that started using computer design concept that is everywhere right now. I'm very good with the computer. I do very well with graphics. So I said, okay, now fashion has played into my trap, so I have to play with it. So actually, it was basically transferring passion to fashion. Yeah. So in the process, we found out
that was not without the peculiar challenges of online operations. Challenges in customer measurements and shipment issues, to mention a few. It was all part of the learning process.
Online was actually the place to focus on, because there was no cash, you know, to put it, you know, get a shop in a place like the FCT. You know, before you get the shop, you have to talk about the millions and all that.